What's up with my quarantinis? My name is Joshua Evans and this is a philosophy video. I was thinking, as you know, I like science. You know, I like learning about the cutting edge of technology and physics and, whatnot. And others who have enjoyed science and technology like me have come up with, seen a few patterns. One person, the founder of Intel, I think his name is, I'm just going to call him Mr. Moore. He came up with Moore's Law, saying that technology is going to get exponentially cheaper and exponentially more powerful. And he was mostly talking about the transistors in a device, saying it's going to increasingly get smaller. And he made this prediction over 40 years ago, and it still stands true today. It seems to be working. But physicists have found there is actually a theoretical limit on how small this transistor can get, which makes sense, This transistor is a physical device, and we know that molecules and everything are made out of atoms. How are you going to have a transistor smaller than an atom, right? It makes sense. There's a theoretical barrier. There's a limit. But, we have theorized ways to bypass that limit with new types of transistors, new types of computers, new types of logic. But it got me thinking, could there possibly be an end to innovation? Could there be a theoretical end of scientific laws? Like, what happens if physicists keep digging deeper? They keep digging deeper, and then they find the answer that when you extrapolate to everything in the universe, gives you the universe. What if you find a law that describes literally everything? And from that law, innovation will come in and begin to make devices and gadgets that make life easier and better from those laws. Let's say the electromagnetic spectrum. When they first discovered that, when we as humans first discovered that, science was at the cutting edge. That was the cutting edge science. And a few years later, a long while later, someone made a radio. And then from that, TVs, and then Bluetooth, and then now we have the internet and whatnot. But science drives innovation. But if there is, let's say, a theoretical end to the laws of the universe, is there an end to innovation? Like, if you take all the permutations of a law, like if you rearrange it in all possible ways and then you apply it in all possible ways, is that a number? Is that a finite number that we can actually reach? And what time period will we reach that limit? When will we end? When will invention end? When will it be just making the same thing over and over again, and there's literally zero improvement? When is there a limit to that? Well, what you can say is, well, what if the human biology, what if our minds, what if our bodies aren't evolved enough to even conceive of such a law that governs this entire universe? Well, I would argue to that, you don't need to directly understand it. You need something that can understand it, and you can extract the information that you need, that you can process from that. Like, for example, you can have a calculator that knows what 2 to the 2.3 power is, right? I can't calculate that. I don't even know where to start on how to calculate something like that. But a calculator is able to do that, and I can use it. It can understand the laws on how to do that, and I can look at it and make something from that. I can apply it to some sort of gadget I'm making. So we could have a device, create a device with a computational power to understand this law that governs the entire universe, and we can just take out the bits that we can comprehend and make our devices from that. And that's actually what capitalism is based off of. It's based off of innovation. The top companies in this country are birthed from finding something that someone else hasn't found and exploiting it, and then making money and then selling it, and then so if there is an end to innovation, if there's an end to physics, if there's an end to science, if you can have a law that describes everything in the entire universe, which is, there's tons of people actively working on trying to find that law, and I think eventually we're going to be able to find it. Science is going to be able to come up. Well, innovation and invention will begin to, it recedes it a little bit, but it will eventually catch up, right? If science stops, this will catch up, your innovation, and then we'll have all the gadgets that can possibly manipulate these laws to make our lives easier. And then companies utilizing these inventions will use that also. And then they will actually exhaust themselves. So you can almost say that discovery itself is an exhaustible resource. You can run out of things to understand about this universe. And then from that, you can run out of things to make that exploits those laws. And then you can run out of things to sell and create. So this capitalism sense, because that's what capitalism is based off of, by its very definition, if this universe is not finite and there is a law or a set of laws that can describe this universe in every sense, capitalism is just not sustainable. And now that I'm thinking about it, capitalism right now, you can almost say, or we're getting to that point, capitalism right now isn't actually sustainable right now. Because, it's based off of people being able to work. And businesses hire based off of your ability. And businesses are meant to make money. That's their purpose. So if you can make a device, a robot, a computational machine that can work better than a human, there is no incentive to hire a human. You could just pay a company to make this robot, and if that robot can do it better than a human, then why have the human? So in the future, and we can even see it now, we're going to see very basic jobs being taken over by robots, and that's obvious. People know that. But what happens to people that just, all those jobs, those basic jobs are taken, right? And the level of knowledge you need to exceed that barrier, to exceed that automata kind of realm, these layers of jobs that are basic enough for a robot to do and for a human to do, it's going to be saturated with nothing but robots. So these people who usually take up those jobs will be displaced, and either they will be jobless or they need to move up. And we're going to push as a society for you to move up, right? But not everybody has an interest in these extremely hardcore sciences, maths, computers. These are things that kind of are inherent to the person, something that the person actually really has to like doing to even get good at doing. So, and because there's only a finite amount of people who do that out of the population, you're going to find people in the future who just won't be able to get a job, just won't be able to sustain themselves and earn an income. And what happens to those people? Because if everything is controlled by computers, which most likely they will be in the future, and you do not have the ability to understand these computers, you don't have the ability to operate a computer enough for a business to think you're worth hiring, you're not going to have anything to do. And this barrier gets farther and farther. This, as machines get better, this band of automata taking the jobs will just get larger and larger as computers get better and better, displacing more and more people. So what are people gonna do? And if we find this theoretical limit of science, of innovation and the robots are able to operate at that level, there will be nothing for humans to do. There will be nothing for them to do. So in the future, and I'm talking far, far in the future, if we keep going with how we're going with the technology, what will people do? You know, the only thing they can possibly be doing is maintaining the things that they already have. It won't be growth. It will be stagnant at the top. It will be stagnant, I don't want to say perfection, but stagnant perfection. You won't be changing at all. And humans will be contributing if they want to. If they want to contribute, they will. Because you'll have these robots that work at such a high level that you don't need to do it. So, and long before that, very long before that, capitalism as a system will not work. Because too many people won't be able to get a job. Jobs and businesses will just find it unfeasible to hire people when they can get a robot to do the same exact job and do it perfectly every single time, or do it at a much better level. So, you know, I think this is something that people, you know, I'm gonna, obviously, because I like computers, I like technology, I like innovating, I, unfortunately, am going to inevitably add to this process and add to this barrier in which technology, this theoretical barrier, we don't know if there is a barrier, but I really doubt that technology can keep going on for infinity, right? I'm going to be contributing to finding that barrier and making it the end of, you can almost say, purpose, right? What will be the point? The point wouldn't be to grow old and get a job and then work. It wouldn't be that anymore. Our system itself would have to be changed. It would be, I mean, I guess you could say the point of life at that point would be, instead of trying to see how the best you can possibly be and see if you can improve the world, right? Because I'm assuming at that point the world would be the best it can possibly be. I guess the point of life would be just to live it in the best way you see fit, you know? You live your best life, and you can do that at utmost efficiency because everything that has to be done will be done for you by the previous generations, technologies and stuff. So you don't have to worry about eating. You click a button and then it 3D prints a sandwich, any type of sandwich you could possibly want. And this seems kind of far-fetched, but they already have food printing 3D printers. They already have it. It exists already. And they already made artificial meat. So, you know, I'm thinking you extrapolate that for 100 years, boom. You click a button and, or you probably think about it, and then a burger is summoned from a 3D printer. I mean, that's not even a stretch. You know, it's something that I think could possibly be done. And this is just going to keep going into the future. Keep going. Until it just becomes a world of just, everything will be surrounded around pleasure. Just, you know, there will be no purpose to anything. I think it would be a really shallow world, you know? There's nothing you could possibly contribute because, let's say there is a limit to how many things there are possible to contribute. And if we reach that end, the people who are still born at that time, if you could even call them people, because we'll probably not even be fully biological at that point, I'm guessing. It would be nothing but a pleasure-derived world. You do things only because it feels good, not because there's purpose associated. You know, it'll just be completely shallow. You know? But this, if you think of, in mathematics, there is a concept of a limit. And you look at the pattern of something and you see where it ends up into infinity or onto a value. If we do that for the world in the state in which it's in, you can think of global warming, right? You can say, hey, in 100 years, the world's going to be burned up. No one's going to be living on it. But I think that technology will develop faster at that point, and we'll be able to reverse the effects. Positive thinking, right? World hunger, you say that's a problem. Deforestation, pollution. I think that technology will be able to overcome those things. And what if we overcome all the things? Every problem, we overcome it. The world will be left in such a shallow, empty, just void world where everything you could possibly want. It would be basically, you could almost say a heaven. It would be a heaven, but like a shallow heaven where you're born and everything you could possibly want is around you. And people don't care about anything but fulfilling their own pleasures, right? Because that's the only, and you can do things to help better the world, but you would know deep down that it would have no reason because all the problems have been solved. Everything that could be done has been done. And remember, all this is assuming that there are a finite amount of states, finite amount of laws, problems, and permutations of all those things, and humans are able to get to that limit, or our ancestors are able to get to that limit. So, that seems pretty depressing. Would I want to live in the world where I can get absolutely anything? People talk about now, what's the purpose of doing stuff now? What's the purpose? I just learn, I go to school, I don't like school, and then I get a job, I don't like my job, and I work at that job so I don't have to work at the job when I'm older, and then when I'm old, I just sit around and just do stuff waiting for the ultimate end. And that's really depressing. And that's now. Imagine, in the past for us, it was I work because I want to live. I grow my food. I want to live. And that's why I do the things that I do. For us, it's like I work to, hopefully make things better for myself. And then, I enjoy it, and then I pass on. In the future, it will be, I don't work to maintain, I don't work to get anything, I just have it. It's there, boom. And then you're born. And then you're looking around, what do I do? And they say anything. And I don't know, kind of feel bad for the people growing up in this end of innovation age. Sounds lame. But ultimately, because I'm participating in innovation, I'm participating in science, I'm actually building that future. Weird. Anyway, these are just some of my quarantine thoughts. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, and stay safe.